All right, party people. This is your man Griff here with another video. Um, Earlier today, one of the subscribers, I believe, don't know how to tell the difference, but Christina asked a question: could I please do a video on debt settlements? So many notaries in various Facebook groups say they don't touch them because they state the notary E&O coverage will not cover you for these. I've also heard that some of the wording in them makes it seem like you are employed or a representative of the actual company, which we are obviously not. Some notaries cite that other notaries have been taken to court when some of these debt settlement companies have conducted shady business. I'm curious what the real deal is on these. All right. As I've always said, anybody who's going to tell you not to do something, anybody who's going to tell you that you don't do it because somebody went to jail, somebody lost this or whatever, they need to provide some proof. Okay, just saying it isn't good enough. They need to actually say some proof. The reason why I say that, because those same people will say, oh, you shouldn't take this order, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, and they don't provide any proof, and they expect you to believe them then. And it's like, okay, so you're telling me to do this, but not to do that. And then and at the end of the day, neither person or that person in either case shows any kind of proof to support what they're talking about. So first of all, they need to provide some proof. If they can't provide any proof, then you have to look at it a little suspect. I'm not saying that people haven't gone to court, but see, you also have to understand or ask yourself, what did the notary do? Because if the notary did something that put them in trouble, whether it was a refinance or anything, you carrying your butt to court. So the question is, what did the notary do? We don't know, because no one is explaining that. They're just saying, don't do this because John and Jane went to court. They're notaries and all of that. Just because somebody went to court don't mean they're in trouble. They might have went to court just to testify to the fact that this is what they did, this is what happened, to show the validity of the actual notarizations. So again, where's the proof? What are you talking about? Give me some evidence that doing these are going to put you in lockup. Okay, that's the big thing. When it comes to E&O coverage, it says that they cover you for your notarial acts. Okay, so if you're doing a notarial act, then you're okay. So the question is, what is a notarial act? I got videos talking about that. Look in my notary basics, and there's some videos about insurance. I'm trying to get this camera. I guess that's better. I don't know about that, but excuse me. But to say that, okay, your E&O coverage won't cover that or protect you with that, then provide some actual evidence. Provide some proof. Again, I'm not saying that it doesn't. What I'm saying is, whatever you say, Mr. or Miss Notary, that we shouldn't do something, provide some documented proof to support what you're saying. And a lot of times people aren't providing any proof whatsoever. They're just making a statement, but they're not providing any documented proof to support what they're saying. Philip is saying what he heard Jane said, who heard what Karen said, who heard what Earl said, who heard somebody say something 15 years ago. So therefore, they're like, this is the truth. And nobody is verifying, nobody's validating, nobody is double checking at all. And then they get on Facebook and then start spreading that stuff as if it's a definitive thing. And nobody can, you ask them, where did you hear that from? What proof? Show me some documentation on that. I'm just saying, I ain't got time for all that. I'm just saying, you do what you want. I'm just not doing it. Okay, then if you're not doing it and you can't provide any proof, then keep your mouth quiet. It's just that simple. Because why? It's even worse when you're putting out stuff and you don't provide any proof to it. So your insurance coverage covers you errors and omissions. So if there's an unintentional error or an omission while you're doing your notarial duties, which during the debt settlement, you'll be doing a notarial duty of notarizing the documents. So if you're doing that notarial duty and you make a mistake, you forget something or whatever the case may be, then you're covered. As far as this thing about, saying that you're actually a representative of the company, to me, that's a lot of double talk from the standpoint of some of them same people. When it comes to a regular loan closing, will say, well, I'm the right hand man of the title and the escrow company. And people teach that. So on one hand, you're saying for the loan closing, or you're the right hand man or woman for the title escrow officer or the loan officer. So you got to get in there and explain the documents, and you got to get in there and break stuff down. But then for the debt settlement, you're like, well, no, I ain't representing y'all. I don't. No. Now, because of what you said, this brings up a very interesting point. Talks about, it seems like you're an employee of the company. You need to look up 1099 laws, people, because that's a very important statement there. In the comment, it says, and it's in the video that I have out there called Brief Overview How I Got Started, got signings when I first started. So it's a video from a while back. Man, that thing was, hold on for a second. Oh man, when did I put this video up? Man, I don't even see the date when I put it up. It was a while ago. But what I'm gonna also do is I'm gonna put it, okay, yeah, it's in my Notary Basics. So it's in my Notary Basics playlist. This overview how I got signings when I first started, and everything. So yeah, so I will, hold on, y'all, what I'm doing here. All right. Now I'm just trying to find that person's comment because I was going to pin it to the to the top, and I'll grab it later and pin it. But here's the point. On one end, you're saying for the debt settlements, you're not a representative of the company. But then for loan closings, you're operating as a representative of the company, which means you're an employee. And and if you're an employee, then you shouldn't be getting a W-9. You should be getting a W-2. Okay. So you got to be careful about how you classifying yourself, that, oh, for this person, this company, or whatever, this situation, I'm working for, I'm representing, I'm doing this on behalf of the title escrow company, just because they might be paying you $200-300. But then just because you're getting $50 from a debt settlement company, oh, well, no, I don't represent them. No. Which one is it? Okay. If you 1099, you 1099. You cannot bounce back and forth. That's legal. You got to look it up. That's why I said, take time out and look up 1099 laws. Okay. You need to look that up. I'm only mentioning this because of the comment that was brought up. I understand 1099 laws. Okay. Do you need to make sure you understand them so that you're not getting yourself hemmed up. But to say, well, I'm not doing it because, I don't want to seem like I'm representing a company. I get it. Hold on one second. All right, here's that. I don't know why it won't let me pin it, but so y'all need to look into that. Okay. Again, somebody running off at the mouth talking about what you should and shouldn't do, starting with me all the way up to the big boys, you need to ask them, okay, provide you some proof. and I do everything I can to provide you some type of proof. I will tell you that, hey, it's just my opinion. This is just how I feel, whatever the case may be. You need to understand that your E&O insurance covers your notarial act. So if you're doing stuff that is not a notarial act, then yes, that's a concern. But that will be a concern with anything that you're out there doing that is not a notarial act, period. It doesn't matter whether you got Byberg, Hiscock, State Farm, merchant bonding company. It doesn't matter which insurance company you have. If you're doing something that is not a notarial act, then you're putting yourself at risk. Going to court. Why did they get called into court? Did they get called into court as a witness to prove that they actually notarized the document? Did the customer, did the person who signed the paperwork for the debt settlement try to back out and then try to claim that, oh no, I didn't do this, I didn't sign that, and then the notary had to come in there to verify, yes, that is so-and-so's signature and I did notarize it. What are the grounds for that? What is the background? You got to be clear on this, okay? Don't just take people's word for it. And then you're talking about working for the company. Okay. Then why are you trying to be the escrow title officer's right-hand man? If you can't be their right-hand man because you're there doing notarizations, why can't you do that for a loan? It's no different because you're going into this as a 1099. You're submitting a W-9, not a W-2. So if you're submitting a W-9 and you're not a W-2 person, then you need to make sure, and I might have the numbers wrong, W-9, W-2, W-4. Y'all know what I'm saying. In other words, you're submitting your EIN so that you can be looked at as a business to business, corp to corp, not as a W-2 employee. So I get it. You don't, and even though that's the wording, I don't look at myself as a representative of them at all. They can say that, but I don't look at myself as a representative of them. I'm there for notarizations. And I stand on that in any court of law. That I'm there as a notary, not as your representative. Because if they want me as their representative, meaning I'm an employee, then that puts them in a whole nother can of trouble there, because then you got to look at the tax implications of calling me a W-2 versus a W-9. Okay, so I get it, and I don't consider myself a representative. That's why I'm there. No matter what the company, I'm there as a notary to notarize the documents. I'm not there as somebody's right-hand person to represent this title company or escrow company, because I didn't get hired to do that. I know people will put that in these things, but you got to understand the legality of it. Okay. I will represent as I represent myself in my business correctly. Therefore, I would also represent you. So if I'm giving you my EIN for my business, then therefore there's no way I can come in there. You're saying my business represents yours, then, there's a whole lot of legality to that, in my opinion. Okay. And it gets a little deep there. And I know there's some people out there that understand what I'm talking about. Feel free to chime in the chat session. So now, for the shadiness of these companies, I've said this before on other videos. Any of these companies, whether a debt settlement company, a loan mod, a refinance, a purchase, a sale, reverse mortgage, HELOC, any of them can be shady. Any of them can be shady. If you understand the concept of the debt settlement, the person has a whole lot of debt that they're trying to get under control. They're unable to pay for it. They're unable to pay it. So therefore, they need what? They need help. And this company is offering them some kind of help. Now, you and maybe even me may not agree with the terms that we see in this here debt settlement agreement, but that's none of our business, because we don't work for the company. The company didn't ask us our opinion on it, nor did the customer, the person who's signing these documents, ask our opinion about it. And if they do, we can't say anything about it in the first place, second place, third place, or last place. So therefore, whatever this deal is, that's between them and that company. My role is to notarize, no different than when I did the last will and testament. I don't know what was in that thing. And even if I glanced and read it and I saw something in, okay, who am I to say, hey, ma'am, you need to have, that's not my role. Okay. I don't know how much she paid for it, for the lawyer to draw that up. Whatever she paid, she paid. I did my part. I kept it going. So the shadiness of a business, to me, that you're walking a really, really critical, cracked surface that you about to fall through into some mess if you're going around saying this company is shady, that company is shady, and you don't have any true proof. Again, you're making statements and you're offering no proof of it. If they are shady, okay, fine, they're shady, then you can choose not to do anything with them. But what makes them shady? Just because a person may have to pay 35% interest, we don't know what the terms and conditions, we don't know. That person could be 5 or 6 months or a year or 2 years behind on their debt, and they're about to lose everything. And this is the only way to keep what they got, by doing this debt settlement where this company pays off the debt and then you pay that company back. That's just in a nutshell, basically what it is. You know, sometimes they'll pay the people, or they'll set up an agreement and then you're paying them and then they pay these people, whatever the case may be. That's between that person and the people who reached out to them, or maybe they reached out to them. I can't get into the validity of these companies. However, if you have the time and the resources to do that, then do it. But we're there for simply to notarize documents. We're not somebody's lawyer. We're not somebody's advisor. So, I mean, that's why I don't be reading these documents. That's why I don't be getting into the details of these things, because if you read them, it'll confuse you. And the thing is, you don't know what the heck is going on. And I know some people out there are so into themselves and think that they know everything there is on this earth, and think that they have the right to question and challenge any and everybody about any and everything, that they'll sit there and read this stuff and then sit there like, oh, well, no, I'm not letting anybody sign this. I'm not letting anybody, sign this stuff. No, no, I'm going to say something. When did you become that person? When? Now that's when your E&O insurance won't. So if you want to do that kind of mess, of course, your E&O insurance is not going to protect you from that. It's not going to cover you at all. But there's some people out there that's like that. So y'all do what you want to do. All I can say is this. If you don't want to do the deal, then don't. But don't sit up here running off at the mouth telling other people not to do something if you don't have some proof behind it. If you don't have any way to give them something to stand on when they say no. If you don't have that, then keep your mouth quiet and you do you. It's that simple. That's all you got to do. I have not had any problems. I've done, I don't know how many debt settlements and stuff like that. I've done JG Wentworth. I've done whoever else dealing with all that kind of stuff. And I have not been called into court. My commission has not been threatened. Nobody has filed any lawsuit against me or claims against my insurance. So if you do what you're supposed to do, stay in the lane that you're supposed to be in, I don't see where the problem is. So y'all tell me in the comment section. And if anybody out there, as I've always said, if anybody out there has some documented proof, and I ain't talking about stuff from 20 years ago, even 10 years ago. I'm talking about within the last 5 years. If you got some documented proof and the evidence that you have covers all sides, cover what the notary did, covers what the signer did, cover what the company did, I will be glad to put you on here and we can discuss it and put that word out to the people. But if you're not willing to put a face to all these claims that you're making, if you ain't willing to put a face to all this stuff you say, then you need to keep it to yourself and stop lurking around in the crevices of Facebook, going around telling people stuff and you have no proof of it. Or the proof that you have is so old and outdated that it's like, okay, how do we know that's still even valid? And you have only one side of it. You see what I'm saying? And if it was you, then come on and tell your story. Feel free on this platform. And then that way you can get the word out and save a whole lot of notaries, a whole lot of heartache. But if you're not willing to do that, if you don't have your stuff together, stop going around and saying things and messing with people's money, because that's really what you're doing. Like I said, don't mess with a man's woman, child, or children, money, or property. And when you're going around making these statements, you're messing with people's money because you're telling them not to do something and you don't have any documented, secure, solid proof to back what you're saying up. That's just the simple truth of the matter. I'm done. Peace.